Good morning, students. So, in today's video, we shall continue with the same chapter, control statements in C++. We'll be discussing a new topic. Okay. In the last video, I discussed about the sequence and selection constructs structures, that is if, else, nested if, right? So today we shall be studying about switch statements. Okay. So in the last program we discussed about the structured programming techniques, that is sequence, okay, which was explained in the previous video. Okay, under selection we saw if statement, we saw else statement, okay, and then we also saw nested if statement. So today we shall discuss about the switch statement, that is also a part of the selection structure. Okay, so what is switch statement? Now, switch statement is referred to as multiple choice statement. Okay, it can be used in place of writing long program codes using if else if. Okay, so we saw that when we use the if construct, okay, since it was a simple decision making structure, right, the length of the program increased, right, and then when we use the else, then the program become a bit shorter, and then we use if else if, nested if else if, right. However, instead of writing this nested if else if, we can use the switch case. Okay, we can use the switch statement, okay, to make multiple comparisons. Okay, so you can see here the syntax. Okay, this is a switch, this is expression, which is always when you say expression within this parenthesis, okay, this is a boolean expression, a test condition, which always evaluates to true or false. Okay, so the syntax is within the parenthesis, this is the body of the switch. Okay, and you can see that the case, so these are keywords: switch, case, break, okay, default, which are always used in the switch okay, statement. So it is compulsory: switch, case, and break. Default is optional. It depends on the user, okay, whether they want to use it or not. Okay, so here this expression, okay, it must be of type integer or character. It can be only of two types, that is, either it should be integer value, or the value that is stored in this variable, it should be a character. Okay, and the expression, okay, uh, it can be a constant or variable. Okay, that means it can be a value, okay, an integer constant, in integer value, or a character value, or it can be a variable. Mostly it is a variable. Okay, so a variable and the data that is stored in this variable will be made a comparison. Okay, so what is the use of this break? Okay, so break statement causes the control to skip the other case and jumps to the next statement after the switch case. So break terminates the switch if one of the case expression is executed. Okay, so this the value that is stored in this variable will be compared with all of these: expression 1, expression 2, expression 3, which is executed by this case keyword. Okay, so when the compiler comes across this keyword case, the compiler knows that it will operate on this execute on this expression. It will test whether this expression is true or false. Okay, and after this, okay, you have this what is called as colon. Okay, colon, so dot dot. Okay, so this colon, okay, is used as a label. That means whatever is written after this colon, it may be a single statement, a compound statement, it may be a C input stream, it may be a C out. Okay, so that will be considered as a label. Okay, and the use of break is, okay, it will jump the switch case if once any of these case expression turns out to be true. So if suppose this first case expression is false, it does not match with this, okay, then this second case expression will be tested. If this is true, then it will not execute the other case expression that are below it, and then it will come to the uh, end of this closing bracket, okay, and then execute the next statement that is after the switch case. Okay, but if any of this case turns out to be false, okay, then the default statement will be executed. Okay, as you can see in the default statement, okay, there is no case mentioned here. Okay, so here expression, okay, it may be a constant or operator expression, okay, which are compared with the value stored in the switch expression. So the constant or the operator expression, okay, it will be compared with this value that is stored in this switch expression. Okay, so like I said, default case, it is optional. Okay, it is not compulsory to use this default, but it is used like an if else part. Okay, if any of this case does not work or is not true, then the last option will be the default. Then that default statement will be executed, and then the switch will terminate. Okay, so if none of the case expression matches, then the default case is executed. But it does not necessarily mean that the default will be the last statement that will be executed. It can be written in between the other cases also. Okay, so this is the syntax, this is the format. Go through this nicely. Okay, and then yeah, go through these explanations that I've given nicely. Okay, so I'll explain this with an example, okay, so that you'll understand the concept of this switch syntax nicely. So here, one example of switch statement. Okay, so here you have switch grade within the parentheses. Okay, so here grade is a variable, right? This is a user defined variable name. Okay, so what now here you can see that no data type is mentioned. So this obviously that means this grade will be declared at the beginning of the program, right after the main function. After the main function, it will be written, suppose like char grade. How do you know that this grade is a character? Because here the case that is executing on these values, okay, a b c d, a b and c d are characters, right? So how do you know this is a character? Because it is enclosed within single quote, right? If it is enclosed within double quote, it becomes a string, right? But string is to be used with the C output stream, right? So here this is a character. That means this character variable a is a data value, that is pre-written data value, okay, in the program. Okay, so the data that you enter here, suppose if you enter grade a, so this case a, it will be compared with this value that you enter here. Since grade is a character, it can store, it can accept from the keyboard alphabets also. And if suppose grade is integer, okay, integer, then it cannot accept alphabet values. Then in that case here, it will be case 1 2 3 4. Okay, and since it is integer, so integer values are not enclosed in single quote. All right, so since grade is since the data values that are inputted here, okay, that are inputted here, that means this is pre-written, the input values are pre-written. So the single value that you enter here will be compared with all of these values, with all of these data values. So based on that, you can see that using the switch case, okay, using the switch statement, you can compare with multiple conditions. With one condition, you can compare with multiple data values. So these data values are pre-written. So if suppose you enter a, then case a, is it true? Right, the comparisons will be done. So a equals to a, yes. In that case, cout secure more than 80% will be printed out on the monitor screen. And then after this semicolon, it comes to this break statement. So when it encounters this break statement, like I said, okay, break statement will force the compiler to stop execution of the switch case. That means it will, since we have found a matching value a equals to a, b c d, case b c d will not be executed, and it will come to the closing bracket and it will execute the next statement after this switch case. If suppose you entered grade d, okay, then a will be compared with d. Is a equals to d? No. B will be compared with d. C will be compared with d. D will be compared with d. And since it matches, okay, cout secure more than 50% and less than 60% will be printed out. After that, it will break. It will encounter the break, and then it will jump out of this switch case. Okay, But if suppose you entered E, okay, then it will be compared with all these cases one after the other. And since none of these cases match, then the default option will be executed, that is cout secure less than 50%. Okay, so here grade is a variable of type, like I said, of type character. Since case A is a character value, see, this is a character value, right, which will store data entered from the keyboard. So this grade variable will accept the data that you enter from the keyboard, and it will be stored here. So these are not entered from the keyboard. These are the data values which are already pre-written in the program, which is to be compared with the value that you enter from the keyboard, and it is stored in this variable, since a variable is used to store data, right? So now here case A is a character data value pre-written in the program, which will be compared with the value stored in grade, like I've explained. Okay, so here this is a statement. Okay, it can be C input stream, or it can be a program logic. It can be here it is a cout statement, right? So it can be a cout statement, or it can be a cin statement, or it can be a program logic, a formula to be executed. Okay, that is whatever of this colon, whatever is after this colon, it is considered as a label. Okay, so this label that is like just to be displayed, okay, or to be executed. So that will be executed. If there is a formula written, that formula will be executed. If there is a C input stream where you have to enter, then it will be done. Okay, if there is a cout, then it will be displayed. Clear? So go through this example nicely and try to understand the switch case format with this. Okay, so I'll explain you with another program. Okay, so if case D or any case is true, break statement will terminate the switch statement. Alright, now here a program to input two numbers and find their sum and difference using switch statement. So a bit lengthy program, okay, but it is easy. Okay, so as usual, always it starts with the header file. Okay, then the main function, and like I said, okay, after the main function the variables are declared. So here you can see that to input two numbers, you have to enter two numbers from the keyboard. That's why num1 and num2 variables are declared. To find their sum and difference, you have to find the sum and difference. So that's why these two variables are declared. Then what is this opt? Because you have to use the switch statement, and when you use the switch statement, it will be testing an expression, right? So that expression is this opt. Okay, that is here opt. So that expression, like I said, that expression, it can be a constant, that is a integer value or a character value, or it can be a variable, right? So it can be a character variable, like in your previous example, grade was a character variable. In this example, the opt is an integer variable, so it will accept only, or it will store only integer values, that is 1 2 3, like that. It cannot so it cannot accept characters like A, B, C, like that. And in the grade, in the previous example for grade, you have seen that the characters are enclosed in single quote, but here the integer values are not enclosed in single quote. Alright, so the variables are declared. After the variables are declared, what is the next step? A prompt, right? A prompt from the monitor screen. So here cout enter first number and second number. So I've shortened the program using cascading operators. So using the cascading operators, the value is entered in num1 and num2 and stored here. So if you enter suppose 3 and 4, that will be stored, 3 will be stored in num1 variable and 4 will be stored in num2 variable. As you can see, the variable names are different. The variable names cannot be same. If you are declaring num1, okay, you cannot use the same variable num1 again. Okay, later on in the new chapters, you will see that you can also use the same variable name twice, provided it is in different function or different block. Okay, but for the time being, okay, you just get to know that the variable's name cannot be made same. Okay, you should use the different. That's why I've named here num1 and num2. As you can see that variable names has to start with alphabets. It can also have numbers, but it cannot start like this, one num. Okay, it cannot start one num, it has to start num1 like that, or it can start with underscore num1. So after that, the cout again will print this message, select 1 for addition. That is, if you want to do addition, since we have to find the sum and difference, right? So if you want to do addition, then select 1, that is press 1. Okay, and then slash n, so that this message will be printed out on the next line. Then select 2 if you want to do subtraction. Again, the C output stream will display this message. Okay, after 2 lines, after the cursor moves 2 lines, okay, enter your choice from above. That is, do you want to select 1 or do you want to select 2? Right, so that is entered in this C input stream and stored in this variable. So if you enter 1, it will be stored in this OPT. If you enter 2, it will be stored in this OPT. Clear? Or if you enter suppose like 3 also, it will be stored in this OPT. So as you can see that OPT is declared as integer, so it will store only integer values. So now for comparison of the switch statement, that variable OPT is used. Why? Because based on this 1 or 2, you have to do addition or subtraction, right? So that's why it is written here, enter your choice from above, whether you want to select 1 or you want to select 2. So if you select 1, okay, that 1 will be executed in here. So switch keyword will test on that value, and then the case, first case, case 1. Now case 1 here, in the previous it was written case A within single quote, right? Case 1, this case 1 is 1 and 2 is actually the pre-written input data. Okay, that means since switch case is used when you already know, okay, what kind of value you are going to enter from the keyboard. Okay, that's why in the case 1 2 it is already pre-written, because it is already known what kind of value will be entered here. If suppose you enter here OPT A, okay, the compiler will display error, it will not execute A, because A is character and OPT is integer, right? So you have to enter integer values only. So that's why you have only 2 case comparison, 1 for doing addition and 2 for doing subtraction, right? So if you enter suppose 1, so switch 1, that is, it will execute it will test with the first case, case 1. Is 1 equals to 1? Yes. Then after the colon, the label, okay, so like in here you see that you are, after the label you are executing the formula, right? In the previous it was cout statement. So here it is a formula, sum equals to num1 plus num2. Suppose num1 is 3, num2 is 4. So after that it will break. That means it will not execute this next case. Clear? And it will not execute this default statement also. Then after that it will close the switch loop. It will end the body of the switch, and then it will execute the next if statement, since we have to display the sum and difference value also, right? So if OPT equals to 1, since you have selected 1 here, right? So if 1 equals to 1, so this is a relational operator, this is a relational expression in which the left value which is stored in this variable should be equal to this integer constant value 1. So if 1 equals to 1, cout will display the sum of, this is a string, okay, num1 3 and another string, num2 4 another string, is equals to sum 7. Alright, but if suppose, so if this is true, only this if cout, the body of this if will be executed. It will not execute this else part, and then it will return 0, that is successful termination. But if suppose enter your choice from above, you enter 2, okay, so it will be 2, right? Switch case 1 equals to 2, no, sum formula will not be executed. Then it will go to case 2 equals to 2, yes, then it will execute this formula if num1 is greater than num2. Is 3 greater than 4? No, right? Since 3 is not greater than 4, the if body will not be executed. That is, difference equals to num minus num1 minus num2. That this block statement block will not be executed. It will go to the else part. That is, if this is not true, if this is true, this will be executed. If this is not true, if num2 is greater than num1, then the else block will be executed. That is, the else statement will be executed. That is, difference equals to num2, suppose 4, minus num1, 3. So that value 4 minus 3, 1. 1 will be stored in this variable difference, diff, and then it will encounter the break statement and it will jump out, and then it will not execute this default. So again it will come here, if 2 equals to 1, now it is the value that you have entered is 2, right? If 2 equals to 1, no, right? Then it will come to the else part. If opt 2 equals to 2, yes, then the difference statement will be executed, and then you'll get the difference value. Okay, but if suppose you enter, you have to select 1 or 2, right? But if suppose you select 10, suppose, then switch 10. Case 1, 1 equals to 10, no. Case 2, 2 equals to 10, no. Then this label statement will not be executed, right? Then finally it will come to default cout invalid option selected. Okay, then after that, what will happen is that the body of this if will not be executed because it is not matching, right? Because 10 is equals to 1, no, right? So this will not be displayed. Else, if 10 equals to 2, no, so this also will not be displayed, but only this message invalid option selected will be displayed on the monitor screen. Okay, so this is how you means like run a program, okay, using the switch statement. Okay, so students, okay, I'll just show how this program is executed, okay, and then you can also type out this program. Okay, so just in brief, I'll just show it to you. Okay, so here I've already typed the program. Okay, so always remember that when you're using when you're doing practical, most of you are making this error mistake. Okay, so listen carefully. Okay, the errors that you're making mistake when you're using your laptop or your desktop computer, and then you're using mobile phone. Okay, so if you're using dev C++ or you're using a mobile phone, always remember you should not write here .h. Okay, it should always be iostream, and then you should write this line using namespace std semicolon and then int main. Right, so the same program that I've written here, okay, it's same. So now what happened is when you compile this program, I think it's hanging. Okay, alright, I'm not able to, yes.